Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to another video, and today we're going to be talking about low light settings and how I use this Action 5 camera to shoot my vlogs in low light situations. I don't really film a lot in low light, but a lot of people have been asking me to do a video like this, so I'm going to talk to you guys about the settings I use and how I approach those situations. And before we do that, though, I do want to talk about, since the Action 5 has been my new recent camera, and right now we're also on the Osmo Pocket 3, so that's what I use for like my desktop talking head videos. But I did pick up the mini extension rod for the DJI Action 5, and I recommend it because if you got the adventure pack like I did, it comes with the extension rod, which is the longer one. This one's about, I don't know, maybe a foot long, and it works very well for vlogging and everything like that. But what happens, the problem I had with this one was when if I go to like a park or something and I want to sit down and continue talking to you guys, I have to still hold the camera like this because it doesn't have a tripod. Sometimes this is still a little bit too long for me. So I saw that DJI made a mini version of it. And this one also extends probably, I don't know, like a foot and a half. And this is like perfect for vlogging. I don't know if DJI has a combo pack that comes with this one, but I highly recommend that you buy this if you have the Action 5. It's really nice, and like I said, this is the main reason why I wanted it, because of the tripod feature. The reason why I wanted that is because it kind of makes it now like an Osmo Pocket 3, where I can just magnetize that on there, and then now I can stand this up on my desk and I can tilt it. It's got a ball head on there, so I can tilt it however I want, and I can do a talk head video like this on the Action 5 camera, which I love. And then I could just take it ready to go and vlog. And this thing is super tiny, so it fits on my little 5-liter vlogging bag that I have. If you haven't seen that, go check out my vlogging kit. But yeah, this is super tiny. And by the way, if I stand this next to my Osmo Pocket 3, this is actually smaller and shorter setup than my Osmo Pocket 3. Okay, so a few things. When shooting in low light, there's a couple of just options that I want to talk about. Number one is going to be full auto, like straight out of the box, full auto. And let me turn this thing on. The only setting I recommend changing if you're going to use it in full auto, which is the easiest and the one I actually recommend, unless you're geeky like me and you want to get the motion blur like we are here. We are using the 180-degree rule, so frame rate at 24 frames per second, and then I doubled the shutter speed to 1/50th so that we can get this natural motion blur. And that requires a little bit more work and ND filters and stuff like that. If you want to put in the work to get this type of quality of motion blur, then that's what you have to do. And I have other videos on that you can check out. But if you're going to shoot it in full auto, which is the easiest way to do this, there's nothing wrong with that. It just gives you a different look. And you're going to get the best stabilizing tool out of this one, because this camera, unlike the Osmo Pocket 3, uses digital stabilizing. So it just detects frames, and the more frames you give it, the better it stabilizes it. That's about as simple as I can put it for you guys if you guys are beginners. If I'm wrong, somebody can correct me in the comments so you guys can read that. But basically, you're going to get better stabilizing. So if you're going to be shooting in auto, and I'll bring this a little bit closer to the camera here, but I recommend going to, so let's just change this to normal 10-bit. Make sure you are on 10-bit because it's going to give you better colors, just a lot more to play with if you decide you want to edit this, but you don't have to. The colors out of this are beautiful. So if you're in full auto, the only thing I do recommend is, if you're going to be shooting in low light, is I usually do full range on, or actually I try to keep my ISO less than 1600. I don't want the camera to push it past 1600, because I find out that 1600, the noise level on that is still very manageable and it doesn't look so bad. And if I'm in a very, very, very dark situation where it's like coming down my stairs in my basement and it's pitch dark, then that's what the scene is. So I just embrace those dark areas. But if it's like a dim lit area and you want a little bit of light boost, 1600 works very well, and I'll show you that in the examples in a little bit. So all you got to do is set the camera to 1600. I have it to, yeah. You're going to want to go to ISO, go to 100 to 1600. And then I have on the left side of the camera, I go to auto, and then I click on the top corner where it shows you the shutter speed on the top corner there. If you click on that, I have it on 100. Oh, wait, let's see. There is it. 100 to 8000 ISO. And the reason I like to do that and not give it the full range is because when you're in low light, the camera's going to try to crank up the ISO as high as it can so it can grab as much light that it can. Once it hits the limit of the ISO, what's going to happen is it's going to go to the shutter speed, and it's going to bring that shutter speed down. And because the Osmo Action 5 camera uses digital stabilizing, and because the Action 5 uses digital stabilizing, the stabilizing is going to suffer once you hit like pretty much under 100 shutter speed. You're going to notice some light jitters and stuff like that. I personally don't mind the jitters at 1/50th. They're not too bad for me, and I just like that motion blur. The jitters don't bother me, but if they bother you, then 100. I've ran a test. If you go look at my Action 5 jitter video, I ran tests showing you guys this, and I think the 100th from the comments and from what everybody thought was like the nice balance between auto and that motion blur. So that's why I picked the 100 to 8,000, which is the max. And then that's it. That's all you got to do. I keep my EV up here. So then you're going to want to go to your EV, and I keep it at -3. That's for D-Log and also normal color profile. It works the same way. And I find that I get the best results out of there. Other than that, I have noise set to -2, sharpness or texture set to -2. And then for motion or stabilization, I have set to daily for normal color profile. And then tone, I have it to neutral. If you want more colors and you don't want to edit, then you can set it to vivid. It's going to give you a little bit more contrast and punch the colors a little bit more. And if you like that look, test it out. And I don't think they both, I don't think one looks better than the other one. It's just like a preference. I personally shoot everything in D-Log in this camera because it gives me a softer look. And I, as a professional and more advanced user, do like to edit my footage. I'll make a video on how I color grade the footage to this camera, but it's pretty much the same as my Osmo Pocket 3. So that was settings and auto for me using it all the way around. Like I can go outside, I can come inside, I can get into the dark areas, and I know that the shutter speed is not going to drop under 100 and give me some weird jitter effect. Everything's going to still look pretty good. That's the easiest. Now let's go to manual. If you're like an advanced user, you want to get a little bit more creative. This is where, sorry, I don't have an SD card in here. I'm going to set this thing to DLOG M. So you're going to go to color, and we're going to set it to DLOG M. Hit confirm. Same thing on the image adjustments. I have -2 on the texture or sharpness, -2 on noise reduction. I don't want the camera to add any noise reduction. What happens is that sometimes if you add noise reduction, the skin tends to look a little waxy and muddy. Especially if you have a lot of details, if you're like walking on the streets and stuff like that, like just signs and things just start looking a little cartoony, like just adds this like muddy effect. You can go ahead and try it if you want. I'm gonna try to mimic it in the examples. Hopefully I can do it, but I keep everything in -2. So then on exposure, what I like to shoot at is I like to shoot in the 180-degree rule, which is going to give me the natural motion blur that you see here. That's what we're on the Osmo Pocket 3. So we're going to go up to shutter speed like I showed you guys before. And instead of auto, I'm going to hit manual, and then I'm going to go to 150 because I shoot at 24 frames per second. If you're shooting at 30 frames per second, then you want to shoot, do the shutter speed at 1/60th, and you get the deal as you basically have to just double your frame rate to get that natural motion blur. So I keep mine at 1/50th because I shoot at 24, and then I keep the EV at -3 because basically what the EV does, guys, is that when the camera is in auto mode and is looking for an ISO to give you the best image, you're basically telling the camera, okay, once you get your settings, I want you to drop it down this much, or I want you to bring it up this much based on the settings of the camera. So for me, whatever the camera decides, I want the camera then to bring it down a little bit just to save the highlights. So that's why I keep it at -0.3. Even in the dark situations too, I just leave it there just to not be messing with more settings. And then for ISO, again, guys, I keep it the 100 to 1600 and just leave it at that. I hit confirm, and that's pretty much it. The motion blur and the stabilizing is not going to change. It's going to stay the same throughout filming outside, filming inside. And I like that because it's just not going to change that part of me. it's not going to change that. Now, that's the downside of shooting in auto, is that your motion blur will constantly be changing all around. If you go outside where it's sunny and you're not using an ND and using manual settings, your motion blur, it's going to look very, very choppy, like a strobe effect. Everything's going to be sharp and stable, but it's going to give you that like almost stop motion kind of feel. Sometimes the footage can look a little bit intense because of the motion blur and just how that looks like. So when you have manual settings, the motion blur stays consistent throughout the footage. And the only thing that's going to fluctuate, guys, is going to be the ISO. So with that being said, that is the settings that I use. And now let's try both of these and see how they work. We're also going to test out the super night mode, which is this camera's low light mode, and we're going to compare it and see what that looks like. This will be my first time using it, so let's take a look at the footage together, guys, and see how this works. I work in the basement, so it's pretty dim down here. We're going to go to the same room where I did the Osmo Pocket 3 low light test, because there's very little light in that room. We just have a tiny little window up in the top basement. It's very, very dim. You can kind of see my face a little bit, and we'll see how the noise and everything looks on there. Now, what I will say is, when you watch this video, please make sure that you are watching it at the highest quality, 4K 2160 on YouTube, so that you can really see the quality and you can inspect it and judge it and whatever you want, and then you can decide for yourself. Hopefully this video will help you make a decision if you haven't bought this camera, or just don't know how to set up your settings for low light. So let's switch on over to the Action 5 camera. All right, guys, we are on the Action 5 Pro, manual settings, 1/50th, -0.3 on the EV, and then we have auto ISO ranging from 50 to 1600. These are the settings that I use for outside, for everything. If I go outside, I use ND filters, which I have the DJI ones. You get a ND8, 16, and a 32. I find myself using the 32 a lot more, and then sometimes the ND 16. Other than that, rock stabilizing is set to the regular standard. Wide angle lens is the standard D warp, and then I'm at 4K 24 frames. So this is what the footage is looking like. We only have a little tiny lamp here lighting me up, so you can see what the dark areas here look like. And I am holding the camera on the mini extension rod that I talked to you guys about, that I just bought. So this is very comfortable. It's my first time actually putting the camera on this and using this. Let's walk around so I can show you what I'm talking about when it comes to the consistent motion blur when you're shooting manual. So right now you're getting the 150th degree rule. It looks pretty nice to me. And if I go up and I walk through here, it's very, very dim. It's dark. In my basement, you can see that Stella is chilling. Stella, you're chilling. Pretty dark down here. She's taking a little nap. Let's go in this room. It's really dark. We have a little light in here, and you can see ISO is not going to go past 1600, so noise level should be nice and low. This is about as dark as this room is. We only have that light coming up there, and but what I like about this, like I said, guys, like look, I'm closer to this light right here. Very high contrast area. I want you guys to see the dark shadows, the light, everything. Let the light hit me like this. You can see the background a little bit. Again, this is only going at a max of 1600 ISO, but the shutter speed is staying. Have the -0.3 EV. It's still saying that we're at -0.3 EV. Guys, remember when you're shooting low light, you don't have to have everything exposed. Like, this is really what the room looks like. Like, it's pitch dark over there. You barely see a little bit of light. That's exactly what this looks like in real life. So I tried to just embrace the dark areas. If you can't see my hat, it's because it is pretty dim down here. So I just keep that up. And the good thing is, when you're shooting in D-Log and these manual settings, you can always lift up the shadows a little bit in post, and it gives you a nice image and it looks very natural. It is very rare that I feel a lot of people are going to be shooting in such a dark area for a long period of time. Usually it's probably like a passing clip. Maybe you're walking through the streets and it's only a little bit part of the vlog or the video. For the most part, I would say 95% of the time I'm shooting out in daylight and bright rooms and stuff like that. But this is what this looks like at manual settings. Again, look, I can move around. I just embrace it, embrace the darkness, Tell me what you guys think. How's the motion blur? Check the stabilizing. Let's go back out here. And then when I transition, moving through the house. And this is what this looks like. I'm gonna come sit back at my desk, and now we're here. Let's go upstairs, show you how this looks like in a vlog situation. So I'm gonna go up. Light is changing. See, it just adjusts perfectly. Now we're back up here. You guys see the motion blur stays consistent throughout the whole thing because it's locked in. And I really, really like that. It gives me a nice look. Obviously, if I go outside, I have to slap an ND. That's the downside of this. But on this camera, it's a lot easier to slap the ND. We're gonna go back to darkness. This is what this looks like. Back to super dark basement. And on my desk. That was manual, guys, with the settings I just showed you. Let's go to auto. All right, guys, this is normal color 10-bit with the auto settings that I showed you. So this is if you're gonna use the camera in auto. The only two settings I tell you to change is the shutter speed. Go to auto, click on the left top of the screen, go to the shutter speed and set it to 100 to 8,000, because if you drop under 100, you're gonna get some jitters and you're not gonna get a stable footage. Now in this setting, because everything is just moving up and down to get the right exposure, you're going to run into different motion blur. See, as you can see now, the motion blur, it looks like a strobe effect, but it'll help out with messing with less settings and not having to use NDs in this with this type of setting. So here, let's go. This is what this looks like. ISO range is the same. Max is 1600. And I'll do another test where I will let the camera crank up ISO as far as it can. So we're back in that same dim room where we have that window. This is normal 10-bit color on full auto. Obviously it's gonna be a little bit darker, guys, because I'm not letting the shutter drop under 100 and the other one would have 150, so it's gonna have a little bit more light. But I wanted to show you guys what the same ISO range can do, and you can kind of see the noise and all that stuff. So we're here by the lamp. We're gonna go back over here. And it's really dark. We're gonna go upstairs again. With this, you don't have to be so careful because the stabilizing is gonna work pretty well. Now we're back in my living room where it's a lot brighter. And that's what this looks like. The cool thing is that I don't need NDs with this. You could just go like this and it'll adjust. And you don't have to worry about anything. It makes life a lot easier, but you don't get that motion blur. The next settings we're gonna do is we're gonna go back to DLOG manual, but we're gonna let the ISO go full range. The DLOG on this one goes from 100 to 12,800. So I gave it the full range of the ISO. I still have the shutter speed at 1/50th, negative 0.3 on the EV, and that way we can keep a consistent motion blur that I like, where it looks like this, cinematic or whatever, and it's not gonna change that for me. You do get a little bit of jitters in the background, but to me, they don't bother me, and I just prefer the motion blur, and that's just how I roll. If you wanna get rid of those, then you can bump up the shutter speed to 100 and you'll get rid of those, and it's kind of like the balance between auto and the motion blur settings. So it's up to you guys. I think it comes down to a personal preference and what bothers you and what you can get by or whatever. So anyways, let's give the camera the full range of the ISO and see how it performs in those super low light situations and just like go in and out from something bright like this to the basement. Ready? DLOG M, guys, full range ISO, 100 to 12,800. We're walking, we're using the 180-degree rule, no ND. Rock steady. All right, we're going down to the basement. We're vlogging. Okay, I can see myself a little better because I'm giving it more ISO. Let's go in here. Now we're in this dim room. Look, now you can actually see this room over here where you couldn't before. And there's that window again. A lot more light. Let's go back this way. Oh, tripped on that. We're closer to the, now we're closer to the lamp here. You guys can let me know what you think about this footage. Do you see it being kind of noisy? Are you good with it? This is full range ISO, 100 to 12,800. Let's go back to my desk, see what that looks like. All right, that adjusted right there. We're walking, and now we are back at my desk, and this is what that looks like. Now I'm gonna switch over to normal color profile, full auto, and then I'm gonna give it the full range so you guys can see what that looks like in normal color profile mode, giving it the full range of ISO. Now with normal color profile, just like on the Osmo Pocket 3, you get a lot more ISO. I'm assuming because it's adding some of the HDR stuff that DJI likes to add on their normal color profile, so it gives it a little bit more processing so that you can get the better image or whatever. So you do get this one does go from 100 to 25,600. So let's set it to that full range ISO, normal color 10-bit. All right, guys, we're in full auto again, normal color 10-bit. Just with those two settings, the shutter speed range from 100 to 8,000, and then -3 on the EV, just like always. And then I gave it the full range of ISO, so this can go all the way from 100 to 25,600. Let's see what happens. The thing about this one is that obviously your motion blur is going to switch around. There's Stella again. Hi, Stella. She's just chilling. All right, let's go in the dark room. Normal color, guys. No noise reduction or anything. There's that window again. Okay, now we're here by the lamp again. Let me know what you guys think versus the D-Log on this thing. Full range ISO, I don't know what it's doing. Let's move a little bit to the dark area. Let's see what that stuff in the background looks like. The dark areas, my hoodie. Usually it's the dark areas that you can see this thing suffer, but we're going back. Let's go upstairs. See how this thing transitions. I don't have to be careful because the stabilizing on this thing is going to work very well, just because it doesn't go underneath the 100th, and that does very well with the stabilizing on this thing. You don't get jitters or anything. All right, so now we are back upstairs. This is what normal 10-bit color looks like. For me, I don't like the normal 10-bit color on this one. It just looks too HDR, too crispy. Even when you bring down the noise and the texture or sharpness, it still looks too sharp for me, and it just gives us this weird look. So anyways, that was full auto, guys, with the full range ISO. Do you guys think it's worth just leaving it on full range ISO for both, either normal color 10-bit or D-Log? Let me know in the comments. All right, now let's go and test out the super night mode and see what that does. I've never tried it before. This will be my first time. All right, guys, we are on the super night mode. I put my settings to 4K 24 frames per second. We have the rock steady stabilizing, and then I have the normal wide angle lens, the D-Warp one. We are also, this setting also doesn't let you choose between normal 10-bit color and D-Log or any of those profiles. I'm assuming it's just picking normal color 10-bit. I'm assuming this is 10-bit. Doesn't tell you or anything like that, but you don't have that option anymore. And then I do have the exposure settings to manual on this, and I have it to 1/50th, so you get the motion blur, -3 on the EV, and then this one on ISO, because it's the super night mode, it lets you go from 100 to 51,200. So if I remember that number correctly, yeah, it's like 50,000 around there. It's 51, I believe it's 51,200. But that's what you're gonna get on this. So it's gonna give you like double, almost double of what like the normal color profile is giving you on the normal video mode. So let's see what that looks like. All right, this is what it looks like in the day. You guys let me know if you notice any difference. Let's go walk around. This is the 1/50th 100-degree rule, and then we're gonna go ahead and try like full automatic settings to see what that looks like. So this is with the shutter speed. All right, we're gonna go into the dark. Let's go to the dark room. And this is the dark room area, guys, again. My face on the screen right here looks a lot brighter. I've heard in other videos that Sometimes your skin can look a little waxy on this thing. There's that window again. I don't know how it is exposing. Let's go a little bit closer to that lamp setting. Okay, everything looks a lot brighter. You guys let me know what you guys think. It's not really that bright back there. This thing is obviously cranking up the ISO and giving you more light. But you guys let me know. Let me get a little bit closer. Is it exposing correctly? Do you guys see any noise? Anything like on my face, my skin? Like, is it looking waxy, muddy? This is super night mode, guys. 1/50th, -3 on the EV, and then auto white balance, auto everything else, full range ISO. All right, now we're gonna switch to full. Let's switch over to just full auto on the night mode and see what happens. All right, guys, we are on full auto. I did just set the parameter so it doesn't go underneath the 100th shutter speed, so that we can get keep the stabilizing, no jitters or any of that stuff. And then the ISO is just full range, 100 to 5100. I don't even think you have an option to bring it down from that, if I remember looking at the menu. But here we are, full auto. This is what the camera's saying, that it's gonna give you the best settings if you just let it be. All right, let's stand here. You guys look at the image. Okay, let's see. We're gonna go over here. It's very dark. I'm gonna let some light hit me right here. See what that's doing. Shutter speed looks pretty good. I'm gonna pan around. That's what that looks like. Let's go upstairs. All right, now we're upstairs. Going back to the light room. And there we go. All right, guys, we're still in the super night mode, full auto. But what I'm gonna do now is go edit this video, and then I'm gonna record the last clip of this video talking about what I think after reviewing all this footage, and then I'll let you guys know my opinion. All right, guys, I hope this video helped you out with your low light questions and maybe wanted to see some footage. I see that there's not quite a bit of footage. A lot of it is like outside on the streets, and you still have quite a bit of light, and I think that you can make this camera look a little bit better. But in these type of situations, especially getting very specific with different modes, manual versus auto, normal color versus D-Log, I haven't seen a video like that, so I hope this helped you guys out. If I missed something, please let me know in the comments. I'm gonna try to answer it for you guys. But for now, my conclusions is that I'm gonna stick with my system, which is DLOG M for Action 5 Pro, and I'm going to use it on manual mode, 1/50th shutter speed, 24 frames, -3 on the EV, and then my ISO range will always just stay 100 to 1600. I feel like 1600 is that limit where I would like to push this camera. I don't mind a little bit of noise in there. I think it looks pretty good. Personally, I think it looks like some filmic grain, and it doesn't look too bad. I'm just going to embrace the dark areas. So if you see any vlogs moving forward, know that these are the settings that I'm going to be using. I'm gonna stay away from normal color on this camera, just because you can see very, very clearly on the footage that it just looks very gritty, digital, and there is a lot of noise on it. It looks very weird. It's just overly processed. I feel like DLOG M looks very, very natural. I love the way it looks on this camera. It's just beautiful. The colors, auto white balance works perfect for this, because this camera has a color sensor in front of it, so I guess it's supposed to give you like accurate colors, and I think it works perfect. Now, I am also not going to be using the super night mode. It's just like the one on the Osmo Pocket 3. I feel like these modes on these cameras just suck really bad. I don't even think they should even have them, because they make the footage look very, very muddy. And yes, I did have the bitrate set to high on this camera. I always do, to get the best image, and it still looks pretty bad. You guys can see that last footage looked very, very muddy. Even on my computer here, it looked like it started to get pixelated and kind of weird, especially when moving around in both the auto setting and the 180-degree rule, 1/50th shutter degree. You guys let me know your opinions on the comments, please, and let me know what you guys are trying out. But so far, I feel DLOG is the winner here. Take it easy, guys. I hope you're enjoying these videos. I got more coming up, color grading, audio, and more videos to come on the Osmo Pocket 3 and the Action 5. I hope you're enjoying these, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.